Hi, I'm Phil Ashey from the American Anglican Council with your weekly Anglican Perspective. We're in a series called Questions for Global Anglicans in the 21st Century, and we are looking at the historic Cairo Covenant, signed in Cairo, Egypt, for the Global South Anglicans on October 11, 2019. What I want to do today is address a question that is answered in Appendix 2, the Diocese as the Fundamental Ecclesial Unit. And the question is this, in Section 3.2, when talking about membership in this historic Cairo Covenant, it says that the diocese is the fundamental unit, or ecclesial unit, and the fundamental unit of membership within this covenant. And of course the question arises, well, why not the province? Why do we have dioceses and not the whole province? And the answer to this question is in this Appendix 2, and I invite you to go along. I'm going to touch on almost every paragraph. And if you'd like to read along, it will be very helpful. So paragraph 1 says, the fundamental unit of membership within the Global South Fellowship is the diocese, section 3.1. And this comes out of the proceedings of Anglican Consultative Council 6 in 1984 in Nigeria, which said this very thing, that the basic ecclesial unit of the church is the diocese, where the bishop in council is responsible for maintenance of the church in apostolic faith and practice. This reflects that principle we've talked about in Anglican polity, that the church is episcopally led and synodically governed. Sometimes that can sound like it's saying, well, it's led by bishops and, it's, maybe apart from the synod. It's synodically governed. The two are different. But actually, the two are one and the same. And this emphasizes it where it says the bishop in council is responsible for maintenance of the church in apostolic faith and practice. And so we go on to say in paragraph 2 that the bishops in council expressed in synodical government, where the bishop deliberates with clergy and laity on all significant issues and never without reference to the means of governance of the whole people of God. And there's a footnote there, footnote 9, which I commend to you, written by a canonical lawyer for the Church of England, who pointed this out, that bishops are always in synod, that episcopally led, synodically governed means that the bishop in synod always deliberates with the whole people of God. Why? Clergy and laity as well. Remember that principle going all the way back to Justinian, that whatever touches all must be decided by all, even though bishops have a unique authority and responsibility for the faith and order of the church. Well, we go on to point out in paragraph 3 that as early as 1897, the Lambeth Conference of Bishops defined the diocese as the center of unity within the church. And then in paragraph 4 to say that at section 3.6, we also cite those Lambeth resolutions 49, 53, 54, and 55 in the definition of terms that we cited last week for the historic preeminence of the diocese as the fundamental organizational unit of the church. And then in paragraph 5, we begin to go all the way back to St. Cyprian in North Africa in AD 248. By AD 258, he was a recognized leader among other bishops around his jurisdiction in matters of faith and order in the church. And Cyprian insisted on the visible unity of the church, starting with the diocese, and insisted on the nature of the bishop's authority, his role and place in the church, in both his diocese and the council, the collegia of bishops, and on the importance of discipline in and among that collegia in maintaining the unity of the church. Michael Ramsey, the great Archbishop of Canterbury, one of our great ones in the 20th century, summarized Cyprian's teaching on the primacy of bishop and diocese from Cyprian's treatise De Unitate. And this is what Michael Ramsey said. He said, the commission to St. Peter in Matthew 16 means that the church was built first on one man, Peter as a lesson about its unity, but Christ gave equal power to all of the apostles in John chapter 20, verse 22, when he breathed on all of them and gave them authority. And so they all share with Peter in that one apostleship. Michael Ramsey goes on to say the bishops as a united college succeed the apostles as the chief organ of unity. Cyprian had another famous axiom. He said the bishop is in the church and the church is in the bishop. And practically speaking, when the bishop is confronted with false teaching, heresies, schism, and persecution, he becomes a source of unity first in his diocese as he guards the faith and unity and order and mission of the church, and then in the collegia as he does that with other bishops. And so we go on to say that from the 1930 Lambeth Conference, that the ancient Catholic principle that the fundamental unit of church organization is the territorial diocese under the jurisdiction of one bishop is something that goes all the way back to Cyprian. And as Cyprian himself observed in his Epistle 68, the church, which is one Catholic, is not divided nor rent, but is certainly united and joined in turn by the solder, thinking of the welding, of the bishops adhering to one another. And so we say that it's through dioceses that this covenant is actually going to be worked out. Yes, whole provinces can join, and we make provision of that. But even their bishops participating representatively must each sign the fundamental declarations, the doctrinal foundation in section 1, in keeping with this fundamental unit of membership in and of the diocese. So, dear ones, this is the future of this covenant, an ever-expanding, covenanted fellowship of dioceses, provinces, regional churches, national churches, networks of congregations that are being built up and grow because their bishops are adhering to one another through the solder of a common confession, missional relationships with each other, and a commitment to the conciliar structures that we find and the processes in section 3 of this great covenant.